What's up guys? In this video I'm going to be showing you how to add digital FPV to this $100 off-road RC truck. Alright, so let's quickly go over the equipment I'm going to use in this video. I'm using this Caddx Vista unit with the RunCam Wasp. You could use an analog VTX if you wanted. I have a few of these Vista units laying around, so why wouldn't I go with the digital setup? I currently have an SMA adapter on the back of the Vista. I may use this SMA antenna, but I may also swap it out to a classic cherry style antenna like this. We'll see. Since I'm putting the Vista unit inside the vehicle, we're gonna have to keep it from overheating. So I got a little pack of these fans, and these actually have a 25 by 25 mounting hole pattern, and that's the same exact size as the Vista. So I'm hoping I can either mount this directly to the air unit, or I'll make a little 3D printable part that'll hold this together and put it right against the air unit to keep it nice and cool. These fans I got on Amazon for like $9, and it's a pack of 3. And finally, the truck. This is the truck that I'm going to be using. A couple weeks ago, this company, Loolinn, reached out to me to see if I could film a video on this truck. I have actually been wanting to make a video on building a digital FPV RC car or truck for some time. I did a little bit of research on this, pitched the idea of converting it to an FPV truck, and they were down. So shout out to Loolinn for sending me this thing. I think this is going to be a pretty cool build. I've had a couple companies reach out asking to do review videos on RC cars and trucks, but I'm pretty selective with what I feature on the channel. I settled on this one since it looks like it's got some solid speed, has a good amount of space underneath the shell to put extra electronics like an FPV system, plus this thing only costs $100 and comes with everything you need. So it's relatively affordable. Let's do a quick unboxing of this thing, see what you get in the box, and then I'll show you guys how to turn this into an off-road digital FPV RC truck. User manual. Cool, that's what's in the box. Get these to protect the wheels. Oop. Here's the truck, good size. And then in this, pretty sure we got the controller, probably some wires. Let's see what that is. And so we got the controller. In this bag, we have the charger for the batteries. I'm assuming the battery is already in the truck. And then we also have spare little clips that are going to keep the top shell on. We've got some zip ties, and it looks like a little BEC for, oh, those are LEDs. So it comes with LEDs too. That's pretty cool. Also, just notice this, in the manual, you actually get a couple extra stickers. All right, let's take a look inside this thing. So to open this up, you just pull these off. You got 4 of them. There you go, inside. So there is tons of space in this. I think up to here. You have a good amount of space in here. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna have the Caddx Vista mount right to the roof. I'll probably end up drilling a couple holes, and we'll have the camera probably mounted right above that. So plenty of space to put a video transmitter in here. Taking a look at the inside, comes with a battery, so you get one single battery in this, and it's 2S. You got the ESC and receiver right here. Got a servo right here for turning the front wheels. Power plug. I may end up swapping this to an XT60 since I have a couple XT60 2S lipos that I would like to use with this. Otherwise, I am going to use this at first, but I'll probably end up switching it. Got the motor back here. This is obviously for turning the wheels. And yeah, overall looks pretty solid. I like the suspension. I'm curious how the LEDs hook up. It looks like the LEDs just plug into the ESC over here. So that's nice and easy. There's a little groove in the front, so I'm just gonna slide these through here one at a time. Boom. Headlights are installed. So I am curious, there's a little tiny plug on this right here. I'm curious if that's a power out. I assume it is, but maybe it's a power in, because you have this plug going here. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna find a plug that fits that, and I'm gonna see if that's power out. I'm gonna turn it on and see. All right, so now to hooking up our video transmitter. So since I'm going with the Caddx Vista, we're gonna need to supply direct 2S power from the LiPo. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to plug it into this plug up here or this one on the ESC receiver. Both of these are only outputting 3 volts, and we can't power a Caddx Vista off that. So we're gonna have to connect it directly to the battery or on this Dean's connector. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take off the heat shrink right here. I have these little JST plugs. This is gonna connect to the Caddx Vista. This is gonna connect to this right here. So then when I have this attached to the shell, when I take the shell off, I can just unplug this and the shell can come off completely, and I don't have to worry about having wires connected to this that I can't unplug. So I'm gonna take this and basically just connect it right to this. So with both of those off, I'm gonna take the, I think this is the male end of the JST connector. I'm gonna just cut it down a little bit. Gonna tin these wires to make it a little easier to hook up to the Dean's connector on the RC truck. So I'm just using some blue tack to secure these wires down. We'll put a little bit of flux on the pads to get it ready for our new connector. I'm just gonna put a little bit right there and a little bit on that end. There's a negative. There we go. I would recommend putting a little bit of heat shrink back around this since we don't have the heat shrink that was on there protecting these 2 terminals. I'm gonna put this big piece of heat shrink just around the entire thing just to protect it from different things in here so we don't have any shorts. There you go, got some heat shrink around here. This can connect to the battery, and then we have our lead coming off here. And like I said, this is gonna power the Caddx Vista as well as the fan. So let's hop over to that and get that set up. All right, let's quickly go over how I'm gonna hook this up to the truck on the JST plug that we just hooked up to the Dean's connector. So obviously that end is gonna plug into this. These 2 wires are gonna be soldered onto the Caddx Vista on the ground and voltage pads. On the exact same ground and voltage pads, we're gonna be supplying power to the fan. Now this fan is capable of up to 12 volts, so it'll be perfectly fine running off of the 2S battery that's going right into this. So this is gonna be sitting right on top of the air unit, right like that. If you don't have a 3D printer, you can get longer screws that'll go directly into the 25 by 25 screws on the Vista unit. If you do have a 3D printer, you can 3D print something like this, and this is a little cage that's actually specific for this fan and a Vista unit. So on the bottom, it utilizes the 20 by 20 mounting pattern, so we're gonna have screws going through there, and the Vista unit is gonna screw right in like that. That's gonna hold the Vista unit right like that. And then the fan is gonna sit on top of it on this plate. So this top plate has a 25 by 25 mounting pattern and a giant hole in the middle, so you'll be able to get good airflow down to the Vista unit. Get 4 longer screws, goes right through there. This is gonna sit right on top, right like that. I'll take some glue it together. This is pretty much what it's gonna look like when we go to put it in the truck. I'm gonna mount it utilizing these 30 by 30 mounting holes, and we'll get to drilling those in a minute. So let's get these wires soldered up. We'll get this thing together and then we'll put it in the truck. Strip these, like that. I'm gonna twist these together, put some solder on there, make sure they're nice and connected. Then I'll trim it and we can hook it up to the Vista unit. This just makes it a lot easier when you're hooking it up to the Vista unit, so you're not fumbling around with two wires on there that aren't really working together. Right like that. And what I like to do when I'm doing this is actually split the wires, because then you can put the ground for the fan, since it's a little shorter, in between it and then twist, and that is going to help it just kind of stay together so you can solder it. So now that those are connected, trim them because we do not need that much wire hanging off of the Vista unit. On the Vista, we've got ground and voltage right over on this side. All right, there's the ground. I'll give voltage. You can't hold the soldering iron on there too long. These wires are like plastic coating or something. I kind of melted one of them, but it's all hooked up. Looks good. I'm happy with that. Let's get this all secured into our little 3D printed mount. All right, so starting to get this together. Got 4 screws on here, and this is going to be what holds the Vista unit. Got a cutout up here, so that's for the USB port in case I got to do any firmware updates or anything. But these 20 by 20 mounting screws are going to go right through the air unit, and then on top there's a little bit there, and I'm going to put a nut on top of that, and that's just going to hold the air unit down to this. Got that all secured down. Now let's mount the fan to the top plate. Now keep in mind, when you're mounting this to the top plate, this is going to be facing towards the Vista unit. The air is going to be pushing this way, so it's going to be pushing through, going downward like that. So you don't want to see the sticker. So here it is. Got the fan on there. This 3D printable part is pretty nice. I did end up gluing it. You can print it as an entire piece, so you don't have to glue it, but I just glued it, whatever, dude. We got the power cable for the fan going directly to the power cable, or the power connectors on the Calyx Vista right there, and then this is what's gonna connect to the truck. And before I do this, actually, on this canopy, or on this plastic cover, there's a plastic kind of film. Just make sure you take that off before you start doing anything to this. There we go. All right, so here's how I plan on attaching this. This is gonna be sitting kind of right in the middle, right like that. I'm gonna find a nice flat spot. This camera is going to be towards the rear of the roof, probably in here, and the Calyx Vista is kind of sitting in front of that a little bit. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna find a nice flat spot on the roof that's kind of central. I printed one of these little brackets, so I'm going to use that to secure the camera, and then the antenna is going to have its own little hole right back here. So now, using a drill bit that's about the size of the screw that I'm going to use to secure this to the roof, I'm going to drill those 4 holes out for the Calyx Vista. All right, so now with those 4 screws in, I'm gonna position the Calyx Vista over the screws. Get those in, or at least get them started. I'm going to just secure these down a little bit so they go all the way through the TPU. So I'm gonna make another little hole in the roof for the camera, and then I'm also gonna make a hole back here for the antenna. So let's do the antenna hole next. Now for this, you're obviously gonna need a bigger drill bit. And I'm actually gonna mount this a little bit closer to the rear of it because I want it to be protected. So I'm gonna just do it. I'm not even gonna measure this. I'm just gonna put it like right there. Take this off so that we can secure it down once it's through. And we'll make sure that that is nice and secured to this. There we go. There's our antenna base and our Calyx Vista all mounted to this. Love it. That's sick. All right, so now that the antenna base is all mounted and the Calyx Vista is good, it's time to get the camera mounted. So to do this, I'm actually gonna take this rear cover off. This is gonna just make it a little bit easier. because I'm gonna have to feed the cable through the cover. All right, so with those screws out, I'm gonna disconnect this, and now we can plan how this is gonna run through the cover. To get this cable through, all I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to drill a decent sized hole right in the middle, and that's going to be the hole for the coaxial cable. I was thinking of doing it back here, but I think just to minimize how much cable is hanging out of the truck, I'm going to just do it up top here, and then I'm going to put 2 more holes on the side of that are a little bit smaller, and those are going to be what goes in through this. So that's going to be sitting pretty much right like that. All right, and there is our cable for the camera. So let's get our camera hooked back up. Put these 2 holes a little bit forward from this so that we're not pinching the cable. Now we will drill those out. We'll get some screws in there and we'll get the camera all mounted. Now the camera mount is gonna fit right over those 2 screws. Now the camera mounts right like that. Love it. There's 1. And 2. I don't want too harsh of an angle with this. Dude, this is sick. So I think this is pretty much ready to go. Let's get an antenna on here and see if this thing works. Everything's all mounted on here. This Caddx Vista was already bound to the goggles that I'm wearing. I'll show you guys video if we end up getting video. But I'm gonna plug this into the JST connector that's soldered to this battery connector. Just gonna plug in like that. I'm actually just gonna keep it like this for now and just make sure that we get power. So this fan should turn on as soon as I plug this in. Yep, fan's on. I can see the LED on the Caddx Vista is on, so I'm actually gonna just rotate this over. And you guys can probably barely see that, but we've got video. Let's take this thing outside. This thing is pretty fun. This took quite a few crashes and it seems to still drive great. I took it off-roading, off some jumps, did some flips. Everything's still intact. The Caddx Vista is still good in there. Got some sand in it, but that's not causing any issues. Camera's good, antenna's a little scratched, but it still performs good. I did have to tighten this down a little bit. I think the crashes kind of just loosened it a little. Otherwise, still performs awesome, and the truck is pretty quick. If you're planning on doing a mod like this where you install a Caddx Vista on a truck or on a boat or on an RC car, just make sure you either have good airflow or you're able to hook up a fan to the Caddx Vista like I did on this. We're actually getting pretty good airflow through these front two wheel wells, and then you also have the fan in there. So I didn't have any issues with overheating with the Caddx Vista. Everything ran perfectly. The only complaint that I have is the radio link. This controller right here, unfortunately you can't swap this out for a different one. I mean, you can, but you'll have to get a new ESC. So in this, you have the ESC and the receiver, and it's built into one unit. So if you do want to use a different controller, you're gonna have to get a new ESC as well as a receiver. So that's really the only downfall. I was seeing about 80 meters with this controller, which is what is advertised. So it's not terrible, but when you have a Caddx Vista on here, this video system easily outperforms that kind of radio link. So you might want to figure out a way to get another ESC on here, or maybe there's another RC truck out there that has that and you can upgrade it to something that has a little bit better range. But overall, very happy with this, lots of fun. So I'll leave a link to all the parts that I use in this down in the description. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more FPV content. Leave this video a like, and if you have any questions about this mod or any of the parts that I use in this, leave a comment down below.